Hello and welcome to our very first video contemplation of the month signature. This is month signature 56. This frequency corresponds to the King of Hearts, the noble role of blessing, and the prime instinct to merge. It is represented by the Angels of Majesty and Enrichment.
Yes, so we have the 34th Angel of Majesty, who walks the pathway of empowerment to become the embodiment of strength. And then we also have the 56th Angel of Enrichment, who walks the pathway of enjoyment to become the embodiment of decadence.
How exciting to be in this energy now. For those of you who have been following along, we emerged today on the other side of a whole month in the frequency of 55. That frequency corresponded to the Queen of Hearts. Let's see, the Queen of Hearts, the noble role of enjoyment and the prime instinct to polarize.
Yes.
And that was represented by the Angels of Revelation, that's the 33rd angel, and the Angel of Freedom, that's the 55th angel. So we had these major themes which we lived in this umbrella of all last month, November 2024. Now, here in December, today is December 1st of 2024, we effectively transition into a whole new frequency. What we'd love to do is recap our experience of November. Generally, there's so much that happened for us personally in the month that it would be impossible to capture it all in this format, and the bulk of it is exceptionally private, as will always be the case when you're working with your personal frequencies, your personal story. But we'd still love to share what we've noticed, because this was, last month, November, was our very first conscious encounter of a month signature. This month now is going to be even larger because we've kind of gathered the experience of living November to bring into December. The final thing I'll share is that we are already witnessing a transitional fluidity, in that the themes we met in November are still very, very present here in this first day of December. We've noticed that in the day signatures, that each day signature flows into the next. As we're contemplating one, we're already tasting what's coming, and we're still tasting what was. We're seeing that here as well. I don't know how long that transitional overflow will sustain, if it will be all month or the first few days, but at least today we can clearly see and sense a connection between these frequencies.
Yeah, the frequencies definitely blend into each other. So it's like being in a body of water or a stream where there's not just this hard line in the sand where one begins and the other ends. And so what we're seeing here is we're still definitely aware of the energies of November into December. And actually, because we're actually working with the Queen of Hearts, which was last month, and the King of Hearts, which is this month. They're pairs, they're counterparts. So they actually work together as a team in this case.
I forgot about that. Actually, earlier I thought about how the King and the Queen go together, but I forgot that we're still in that energy, that the Queen was November. So Queen and King in any placement, whether it's the swords, the wands, the hearts, or the diamonds, we've mentioned this in our day signature contemplations, they operate as a pair. They're counterparts. So they serve one another in a way, almost like masculine and feminine expressions of a single primary theme. In the Queen, in November, we were working with the noble role of enjoyment. Here in December, we are meeting the noble role of blessing. And so there's this very personal, very private, very internal sense about what the Queen is focused on in enjoyment. It's all about her personal enjoyment of her own life. And now here in the King, we find this externalized, expressive giveaway, which is blessing, as the essence of that enjoyment now produces something in the aura of the individual, something that reaches beyond them, not only to bless their own life with enjoyment, but to bless the lives of all who encounter them. So we love seeing this, and it's worth noting, actually, interestingly, I never saw this until now, but this is a month of giving.
Mm-hmm.
We had the month of Thanksgiving, where we recognize everything we've been given. That's personal and internal. And now here, December is, the holidays of giving.
Yeah.
It's Christmas and gift giving. So it's pretty perfect, actually, in that regard. So,
yeah. But what we're seeing, I think, to sort of the overarching theme is enjoyment. And we know that with the 64 angels, that is what they've been telling us all along,
yes,
that the purpose of life is enjoyment. And I love that the king and the queen both are bringing that message with them.
Yes.
Like the queen's noble role is enjoyment, but also this King of Hearts for the month of December is aligned with the 56th angel of enrichment, who walks the pathway of enjoyment.
Yes.
So we're seeing enjoyment in both places. So it's a continuation of this theme. And I think what we'll discover is that this month we're really called to fully embody enjoyment.
Yes.
Whereas I think last month we were given opportunities to see the areas of our lives where we were not permitting our enjoyment and to make a choice to not subscribe to any beliefs any longer that were holding us apart from our enjoyment.
Oh, yes. Wow. Very well said. We're going to talk about this month's themes, but before we do that, it makes really good sense to share what we've noticed about last month. This theme of enjoyment is central last month and this month and will remain central, period. The angels have told us that all angels serve the same theme. This is the theme of enjoyment. The very purpose of life is enjoyment. Those are massive, massive statements that all this time in continue to surprise us, and in some cases even continue to confound us. Our experience of November was, to be totally honest with you, grueling. We expected to meet these themes of freedom. The angel of freedom walks the pathway of spirit or heart on the path to become the embodiment of luxury. We're like, oh yeah, let's do it. We are now free.
Yeah.
We're going to have a luxurious experience. To be perfectly frank, November kicked our asses.
Yeah.
And we can begin to understand why. Go ahead. What are you seeing?
Well, the prime instinct. We were kind of...
there it is.
I think we weren't taking the full consideration of the underlying prime instinct to polarize. And this prime instinct to polarize is, the word itself is speaking to the necessity to choose.
That's
so
right.
We were being called to choose our freedom, to no longer argue for our own disempowerment, our own enslavement. We actually had a really powerful conversation one night. It was one of the last nights that we could sit out on our front porch, enjoy a chimney of fire. It was still just warm enough to be able to do that. And we were contemplating the theme of freedom. Yeah. And we had this revelation, which is another angel. This is what this month of November was all about. It was about having these revelations where wherever we were still holding beliefs that were holding us apart from our freedom, from our own empowerment, from our full capacity to enjoy our life.
Yes.
And absolutely, that's what we unexpectedly encountered last month.
We encountered the opportunity to become free. We thought we would encounter the experience of freedom, but some time ago in contemplating these day signatures, we arrived at this vision of a bird in a glass cage with no top. And the fact of the matter is that bird has got to lift up out of that cage and deliver itself to freedom before it ever experiences the very thing it most desires. And it needs to know that there is no top, and it needs to know that it can fly. We've kind of worked this metaphor many times, but that really, really felt to us like what the month of November was inviting. It wasn't saying, ta-da, you are free. Although, of course, we recognize that to be a fundamental reality, a fundamental truth. It was saying, you now, knowing that, must begin to flap your wings. You must begin to do things differently. You must begin to carry new ideas and expectations. You must begin to be the bird. Yeah. In order to have that luxury, in order to have that life.
Right. Yeah, it really called to my attention this idea of circumstances not being the point. Circumstances don't matter. It's the meaning that we assign to them.
Yeah.
And so, for example, my personal example is most of my life I've struggled with body image issues. And if I were to essentially understand that I am totally free, it would not be to wish that I was thinner, wish that I felt better about my body, about my aesthetic appearance, all of these things that we know this idea has been drilled into us our entire lives. We know all about it. So I think what the revelation truly was is that the only thing that was keeping me apart from that true experience of enjoyment and freedom was my ideas that I needed to somehow change my circumstances in order to really feel free, in order to fully enjoy my life. So the old me would really advocate for wanting to change my appearance because that is the only thing that would give me that experience. And what we're all being called to understand is that the circumstances are the very things that will liberate you to let go of the beliefs that are actually the things that are holding you captive, holding you in this cage, and disallowing your understanding that you can fly out of the cage at any moment. So what I needed to really understand was this belief that I needed to change my body in order to be happy was the thing that needed to be totally extinguished, let go of. It's old news at this point. It's actually quite ridiculous when you think about it, but these things that become so
ingrained,
they tend to really hang on until you stare them in the face and say, this belief has no place in my life because it's the belief itself that's holding me apart from enjoying my life completely.
Yeah.
And I don't have to change a thing about myself. Of course I'm enough as I am. I mean, I have a husband who loves me just as I am.
That's
what
accurate.
more do I need? So these are the kinds of almost obvious aha moments that November was all about.
Obvious aha moments, but those obvious aha moments for us were happening on such a deep layer of our human experience that it felt truly grueling as we uprooted these ideas and these agreements that had been subconsciously made so long ago. In this beautiful example, we're dealing on an identity layer of experience. The idea is that my identity is directly connected to my aesthetic. And even in saying those words, I'm sure that those of you listening can feel how just like how easy that is to agree with. It feels real. It feels like a thing.
Right.
But it is not. It is not. Your aesthetic is meant to express your identity, but it can't work the other way. And we've been tricked into thinking that it needs to. Right. So when we're on this identity layer of experience, what we find is that we're grubbing around in this really nasty mud of shame.
Absolutely.
The identity level is all about either complete disempowerment through shame or complete liberation through self-acceptance. And there is no halfway point. The angels have told us this. There are no halfway measures, and that's what polarization is about. So these circumstances come along to bring this to our awareness. We, ourselves, and you as well, we're all committed to meeting our life on purpose, to throwing our eyes wide open to the truth, eliminating that which is not equal to the truth, and accepting wholeheartedly that which is. That process requires something of us. And so the moment we commit ourselves to meeting life on purpose, life says yes. And it gives us the opportunity to expand, to release those things that don't serve us, to become lighter. The process of becoming lighter can be very challenging, can be heartbreaking and difficult, and we can feel like we're getting it all wrong along the way. And frankly, this month of November felt like that a lot of the time. Except both of us knew, thanks to all of this, thanks to who we are and thanks to the fact that we have one another to lean on, we were aware of the context within which those circumstances were happening, and we were able to remind one another along the way that this was for the purpose of liberation. That's amazing. So these circumstances come along in order to catalyze polarization.
Right.
This prime instinct to polarize is massive, far more so, as you mentioned, far more so even than we anticipated. It reminds me of the Bible verse that says something to the effect of basically become hot or cold, but do not be lukewarm. If you are lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth.
Yes. Yeah. We have this tendency to just be passive and not understand this idea of empowerment is rooted in our ability to choose, to say,
yes,
I am not subscribing to that anymore. And even though the entire collective, the whole world believes this certain thing, if it is essentially robbing you of your ability to
enjoy your own life,
to really tell yourself and believe it, that you are enough as you are,
yes,
that your value is not tied to any of these ideas that the world has subscribed to. If it's not serving you and you can't actually say that and believe that, then you've got to let it go.
Yes. That's a huge thing to say. It's the signaling systems that contribute to this could not be more basic. You absolutely know when it falls in on one side or the other.
Yeah.
You absolutely know when something uplifts and elevates and inspires. You know that feeling, that breathing a sigh of relief as you recognize something true. Oftentimes we'll say something that we wish could be true, but that indicates truth.
Yeah.
And you absolutely know the feeling on the other side. And so when you feel that on the other side, when any of us feels that shame, that heaviness, that ache, it is simply a physical signal indicating that whatever is turning in our own minds in that moment is equal to falsehood, is equal to a lie, is equal to the opposite of what we're after. So we release it. But that's a choice. So this process of polarization is about making the choice. Will we enjoy our lives or will we be miserable? Will we stand up or will we continue to just kind of get squished into the dirt of everything that was? I'm reminded, I'm laughing as I'm saying this because I once saw this meme, a hilarious meme. I don't think you've seen it yet, but I've told you about it. And there's this little kid and his head is literally being stepped on by a boot. And you see this boot on the kid's head and he's being ground into the dirt. You're like, oh my goodness. And then the next half of that meme is the kid with his hand in a boot like this, and he's holding his own head to the ground.
Yeah.
And it's surprising and adorable and perfectly perfectly demonstrative, thank you, of what we're seeing here. So that process of polarization absolutely became central to our experience in the month. And that process is directly correlated to the 11th angel of light, who, quite remarkably, we met in the month of November, beginning on November 11th.
Right.
So we met with the 11th angel on the 11th day of the 11th month. And
if you haven't read that session yet, it's on our website at the64angels.com, and it's a really good one.
It totally surprised us.
Yeah, we were not expecting what the angel had to share, which
not at all
tends to be the case, but this was especially just it was
liberating.
It was liberating. It was a sigh of relief. It was very it's just so on theme with everything the angels have shared, but it was like doubling down on all of it.
Absolutely. Yes. That's what it was. It was a doubling down on something I didn't expect it to double down on. In fact, the liberated tarot member that we attribute to the 11th angel primarily is the 11th card in the sequence, which is the sword. In my mind, I expected to meet this angel of light and basically meet a badass. And I expected it to talk about severing ties with those things that do not serve us. And I expected it to talk about using the sword of light to basically hack away all these ideas that are no longer useful. I really expected it to come in like a windstorm and just shake everything up and leave this like brilliant, almost painful light of truth. It did not. Instead, it came in like this gentle breeze, and it showed up speaking of lightness, not of light even at all, but of lightness. And it referred to itself even as the angel of lightness. And it spoke to how easy this ought to be and how much life there is in it. It's not about cutting. It's not, this process of polarization can be grueling, but ultimately what we're called to is to embody the gift. And that's a lightness. That's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, to see the goodness that is inside of each of us. It's almost like taking the focus off of what we don't want and putting it on what we do want.
Not almost. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But it happened in that conversation. The angel demonstrates it in such complete form that even to me, it was brand new.
Yeah.
I will admit that my emphasis, even in seer training up until that point, has very much been about utilizing circumstance to recognize the catalyzing opportunity of the moment, which is often about like, this happened and it sucked. And so we turn that over. And that's useful in its own right, obviously. But what this angel has shown us is something we will need to continue to chew on and to ultimately experience, because it introduces, at the very least, the possibility of avoiding all of that hard work and simply relaxing into something so much grander than we've ever yet permitted ourselves to imagine. I absolutely encourage anyone viewing this to take the time to read and, yes, study that session. We sure will be. We're still learning what that lightness feels like and how it can be accessed most directly, because we know it to be true under all these layers of lies and agreements that we've kind of lined up and stacked up over the years. But it couldn't be more obvious to us at this point that maybe we've been doing things a little bit backwards, as they used to say in the machine shops, bass-ackwards.
Nice.
We have, but only because we've been trained to. And so now seer training, our work in our life, our recognition of what's possible here has flip-flopped. It's like, okay, we really do get to use this capacity to simply adore that which does serve us, to simply relax into the knowing that we've already got. And we have been given so much in these conversations we've been given, and now we give that back to you. So much in our sessions with the angels we've been given, and we immediately give that back to you. All of us have all of the answers we most need already. Right. And this angel of light came along to remind us of that, to remind us that this gets to be beautiful and even easy the moment we recognize just how profound and complete that gift that's already been given truly is. It's a complete grace. So, awesome month, awesome session, challenging month, enormous impact, enormous result, which we're still living into. And it all leads into this month of December. Right. Were we completely liberated? Was it a complete experience of freedom? Absolutely not. I think this process of becoming free is actually a process of becoming progressively more free. And I think it goes on forever. Yeah.
It's a process of becoming more clear, having that clarity to know what it is you're choosing.
Yes.
Being very, because it's like sort of a subtle distinction. You think that, it's about one thing, but there's a deeper layer. There's a rhyme and a reason that it goes much deeper than you might initially sort of think it's all about. It's like, it's anything that keeps us divided and divided from ourselves in particular. That's why I think this month is all about prime instinct to merge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Moving into the 56, we meet a new prime instinct. I will refine a previous statement that I made. Not refine so much as define, I think. To say that this process of freedom continues forever is not to indicate by any means that we remain perpetually disempowered in any way or enslaved in any way. It's not to imply that there's something to become free from forever. It's to say that our expansion into greater and greater experience of more and more freedom, more and more freedom of expression, more and more free enjoyment of life, that will never stop.
Right. Yeah. And the fact that there's always more to see.
Yeah, correct.
So we can always remain open and willing to see more,
and there's your clarity.
To be aware of more, to become more clear.
Yes.
So that's the part that always will continue. We're always learning.
That's quite a revelation. And that was the other angel, of course, that we worked with last month. All of these insights were massive. They felt very much like revelation. And now, having met them in November, we get to begin to integrate and embody them here in December and for the rest of our lives. So now we get to move into this month's major themes.
Yes.
Of course, right out the gate, we can't help but connect the dot between last month's noble role of enjoyment and this month's 56th Angel of Enrichment, who walks the pathway of enjoyment. This is an angel who enriches itself by means of enjoyment, and also, amazingly, by means of that same personal enjoyment, enriches the lives of everyone around it simply by virtue of its presence. Anyone who is truly surrendered to their own authentic enjoyment is going to function as a light in this world. We see that in every genius, in every actual genius, not tortured genius. We see that in every true genius, in every true avatar that has ever lived. They connected to something larger than themselves in such a way that it blossomed their insides. They felt that massive awareness of yes. They submitted themselves to that and met life as such. They became a light in this world.
They became a blessing.
They became a blessing, and there's our new noble role. As we permit our own enjoyment, we become light.
Yeah.
Now might be a really good time, actually, to read this one.
Okay.
Because it kind of defines
the Amplified?
What enjoyment is. Yes.
Okay. So the month of December, we're on the frequency of 56. And we also like to look at the amplified frequency. When we're looking at these frequencies, we always go to the words table. These frequency tables connect words and phrases to the numbers.
Yes.
So there are a couple of entries at the amplified frequency of 56, which is 560. And one of them jumped out at us as being quite relevant. So I'll read it now. When you are in tune, there is entrainment. Frequency attunement you can feel. Following this feeling is a practice. So this idea of following the feeling, obviously the first word that pops in my head is enjoyment. This is the feeling that we're following. This is the feeling that we're prioritizing.
Yes. Entrainment is merging, amazingly enough. This comes directly from our session with the Angel of Resonance, the 49th Angel of Resonance.
Right.
And what it's doing is defining what enjoyment truly is. Enjoyment is something you feel. It's not a subject you can mentally consider. It's something you actively feel. So when we experience enjoyment, we're actually experiencing a feeling that indicates something. The reason that the angels are so clear about its significance is probably because of this. This single factor of our experience consistently communicates the quality of our engagement with our own life. If we're not enjoying it, we are not seeing or experiencing the truth. We are instead engaging with something other than the truth. Yeah. Whereas anything that causes this feeling of enjoyment to erupt inside of us will communicate to us that alignment, that in-tuneness that the Angel of Resonance referred to as entrainment.
Yeah, I'm reminded of how Abraham Hicks describes it. It's the enjoyment you could substitute for what Abraham says is well-being.
Oh, yeah, right.
Your well-being or your alignment with your source. And that is what I think that well-being word is in our lexicon would be enjoyment, because that's a word we can all really easily connect to as what Abraham means by well-being. The act of enjoyment, it's an act, it's a feeling, it's all of these things that could be very large things or very simple things.
Absolutely, yes.
But either way, we know what it means to enjoy, and it's something that is a perfect indicator of basic well-being. It means you're healthy. If you're enjoying, you're healthy. If you're enjoying, you're in alignment with your life. You're on track.
Yeah.
And That's really what that feels like.
The embodiment of the 49th angel is alignment, correct? Yeah. So that's exactly what we're dealing with. You're 100% right. This, what does it say? Following this feeling is a practice. It's a practice because what we're talking about here is not just an idea. It needs to live itself out in a real way in order to be integrated, in order for it to become real for you. That's why this word enjoyment is so central. And that's why it's not going to let up on us at any given point, whether it's the day signatures, the month signatures, the angel sessions. It's going to remain central because as humans in these feeling bodies, in this feeling experience that we call life, we have this soul indicator, which again consistently confirms alignment. So of course it's central. And of course, if we are able to align with the highest and best within ourselves, if we are able to align with the highest and best possible stories we could ever live out, of course we will then shine as a light in this world. Of course we will then stand out in a world where that very act is being attacked and argued against as if it's in some way inappropriate to enjoy your own experience. Of course, we're going to become living blessings. Of course, we will fulfill that noble role of blessing. And our lives will be blessed because we will have finally opened ourselves to the direct experience of the most beautiful reality there is, of the most beautiful truths which underlie and support and inspire all of our lives. But that blessing will extend beyond us, and its extension beyond us will cost us nothing because it will be a natural emanation of the light that is us. It will cost us nothing. It will be perfectly sustainable, and even more so. It won't just sustain, it will generate more light. It will generate more life. It will generate more response. And as it extends beyond us, it will help to expand the infinity that is life. That's how this works. It's remarkable.
Wow.
This 10th instinct to merge directly connects to the 10th prime, which is destiny.
Yep.
Of course. How do we do this? These seem like such big things. We're going to meet the Angel of Majesty this month, the 34th Angel of Majesty. Massive words. How? How does the Angel of Majesty walk the pathway of empowerment? The 56th angel, yet again, answers in the same exact language we've heard all along. It says that if you want to empower yourself, you walk the pathway of enjoyment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have to keep coming back to my own examples because that's obviously we're all here to do that. We're here to make this applicable to our own lives. And for me, I realized that I was totally disempowering myself by arguing for this belief that was holding me apart from just enjoying my life. To basically disempower myself is to say that I'm not enough as I am. And so what we're essentially seeing this month is this pathway of enjoyment and this pathway of empowerment.
Yes.
They work together because you can easily see how just enjoying your life is that empowerment. And so you're no longer going to subscribe to beliefs that don't allow that essentially to continue.
Yes. So I don't have a clear line to this yet, but you've shared what your main subject, a very primary subject, identity level subject for you has been. My equivalent to this is provision. It's finances, it's resources, it's being able to maintain some connection to like being responsible for the luxury. And over again, in the same way that Lara is being called to release all of this pseudo responsibility that she's taken on for her own aesthetic, all of this artificial weight, literal heaviness, literal weight in ideas that have pressed themselves into her body, into the body of her experience. As she's being called to eliminate all of that, I'm being called to do the same thing over here. I've taken on all of these responsibilities about what it means to be a man, about what it means to be a husband, about what it means to be a provider, about what it means to be an earner. And these are massive social themes. These aren't just, well, because I grew up with my parents telling me these stories. It's no one's fault.
Right.
This is a collective context, a stage that each of us has been set upon. And that stage is uniquely situated to catalyze these liberating revelations. So for Lara, she's set on this stage that says, well, a woman is supposed to look like this. And it's hilarious because that same collective stage 50 years ago was different. 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, it's different. The stage is constantly resetting itself to accommodate very specific revelations. And so in this life, for Lara, this is a massive one for her. And in this life, for me, the provision bit is a massive one for me. And in the same way that the angels have spoken directly to Lara, literally calling her the angel of beauty, the angels have spoken directly to me, telling me that I am provision itself. And still, we're over here with our thick skulls and our massive load of bad, unhelpful ideas, like horrible sometimes ideas. And we're learning how to replace those ideas with the truth. We're learning how to simply release them. And what we find on the other side of that release of all of those heavy ideas, which have never actually served to support any amount of life moving through our lives, what we find on the other side of that heaviness is, of course, lightness. And so, of course, the angel of light comes up not as some great warrior, but as this gentle Messiah saying, you are already perfect. Timothy, there is nothing for you to prove. You are not failing. You are giving 110%. There's not more that you could give. And because you're giving in this very specific way now, you will have so much more to give than you ever could have in your efforts to try and provide. And Lara, you are perfect as you are. Perfectly beautiful. Everyone can see it but you. So now it's time to open your eyes and tell the truth to yourself. These are massive lessons. I'm looking down at your notes here. I'm seeing the Angel of Majesty walks the pathway of empowerment to become the embodiment of enrichment. And I know that's not right. So what is it?
Strength.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So the Angel of Majesty, think about this. You are provision itself. Majestic statement. You are the Angel of Beauty. Majestic statement. Walks the pathway of empowerment. The angel walks the pathway of empowerment. Why? Because only you can empower you. Only Lara is going to empower Lara to be the majestic beauty that she is. Right. Only Timothy is going to be able to empower Timothy to tell the truth about his own identity, about his own worth. No one else. I can tell Lara till I'm blue in the face that I love her exactly the way she is and I wouldn't want her to change a damn thing. But until Lara is capable of accepting that, she's not empowered to be that for herself or me to the extent that she deserves to be able to. And the same goes for me. So what does all of this create in us? What does this produce? Rock solid strength, capital S strength, the embodiment of strength, not the idea of strength, not some transcendent, impossible to attain version of strength, but a real life, literal, human, and divine expression of the highest possible meaning of that word strength. It's a real thing, and we get to feel it where? In our experience, in our bones. It's not the expression, it's the embodiment. Of course, strength lands here because it's not until we have permitted this process to unfold that the truth in our bones finally begins to blossom because it's finally allowed to. It's been fertile all along, but it hasn't been watered.
Right.
So the seed just sits there, and then we come to find the truth, and the simple awareness of it, even as a possibility, drops of water, and now we start to find this strength in our bones. We start to literally live out decadence, the highest possible form of luxury and enjoyment, because we've stopped withholding ourselves from the direct experience of that.
Yeah, I love the embodiment of the 56th angel, which is decadence. It's provocative. It is a provocative word. It's a word that's really misunderstood, and the angel even mentioned that this is an angel that we've actually had a session with. That's so right. If you haven't read the 56th Angel of Enrichment, it's on our website and you can read it. It is awesome, especially because it addresses the idea of decadence being a word that you need to really understand.
Yeah.
And when you do understand it, it completely liberates the word to its true meaning. And I love the 56th angel said that decadence is a reverent act.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not only permitted, but it is the way.
That's another connection to last month.
Mm-hmm.
The embodiment of the 33rd angel last month was reverence.
Yeah.
And you're correct. The 56th angel told us, definitely worth reading. True decadence is a reverent act.
Mm-hmm.
And it did a really good job of adding that word true in front of decadence.
Yeah.
Regardless of what anyone else might see in the word decadence, what we're referring to here is something very specific.
Yes.
The angel has defined that for us. True decadence is permission of enjoyment.
Yes.
It's allowing yourself to meet your life as the gift that it is, as opposed to meeting your life as a trial. Meeting your life as a test or a challenge of some sort. Forget all of that. Those are bad ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that decadence in the mainstream would be looked at as excessive spending or excessive consumption, or using it as a symbol to prop yourself up on this hierarchy of, status.
Yeah.
These types of things are obviously not what we mean by decadence. True decadence is enjoyment of your life, and that's unique to everyone.
Yes.
But we all know what it is for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And to find that thing which has been so disqualified for many of us for one reason or another, whether that's moral or financial, whatever the case may be, social, that very thing is a reverent act. It just, over and over again, I'm reminded of this major revelation that we've received from the angels, which is that the very best way to honor any gift is to fully receive it and thoroughly enjoy it. It's obvious, it's simple, and it's fundamental, and it's central to everything we're talking about here. True decadence is a ceremonial act, is another thing it said. True decadence is a reverent act because it's the only way to honor the miracle of life that you embody, that you are an expression of.
They also said that enjoyment produces a rich and honest life.
Yes.
A generous life.
Yeah, a rich and honest life, a rich and generous life. But think about this. Everything we're seeing here in this month's signature confirms this, that we enrich ourselves by permitting that basic level of personal enjoyment to guide us from one moment to the next. And in so doing, we become a blessing to others. We enrich others too. This is a simple mechanism. Amazingly enough, if every single person who currently exists did this, everything that needed to be done would get done. And the actions taken in order to complete those projects, those whatever it may be, would be of the highest quality. All of the actions would be of the highest quality because they would be springing out of the very heart and soul of the being engaged in them. Every person would be naturally and easily walking their own destiny, and like puzzle pieces, everything would fit.
Yeah.
That's what life is doing in nature all around us all the time. And it's what we as conscious entities are called to figure out for ourselves. We're called to figure out that there's nothing for us to figure out but this. And that if we can simply permit this, if we can polarize by choosing enjoyment, then we get to be the very things we came to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reminded of a distinction that I've often drawn between way of life and way of being. I don't know that we've even talked about this before.
Doesn't sound familiar to me.
This comes from back in my whole system human days.
Okay.
And I like to think of way of life as environmental and way of being as expressive of your nature. So way of life is about producing an environment internally and externally that supports way of being.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyment is how you produce a way of life that supports a way of being that is natural, that expresses blessing, that expresses enrichment. The two have to work together. If you want to be beautiful, you fill your life with beautiful things, and you fill your inner life with awareness of beauty, including the beauty within you.
Mm-hmm.
You see yourself as beautiful, and in so doing, you become more beautiful. That's literal. It's physical. Of course it is. That will never happen if the person who wants to be beautiful is focused on all the reasons they think they're not beautiful and all the agreements and ideas that indicate that they'll probably never achieve sustaining beauty. And you feel that mess, that muck, that mire. It's a self-fulfilling loop in both directions. And so we connect ourselves to the self-fulfilling loop in a positive, elevating, uplifting direction. We connect ourselves to the truth. And so we produce a way of life that supports it. How? The answer is unique to every one of us, but the answer is the same for every one of us. Permit your enjoyment. Your life unfolds when you do.
Yeah.
And then your way of being, you become a blessing. You become an enriching variable in life, a factor of enrichment. You become the enrichment that you are.
You become
majestic,
the full expression of you.
Yes.
Which is what we're really all wanting. Even if we don't know we want that, we want to be so completely ourselves and to be able to express that so perfectly.
Yes. And the exciting thing is that none of us have ever experienced that. We've never encountered that, certainly not in these bodies. So I think a great part of this story that we're telling in human form is the experience of that largeness on a sensory level, on a direct, physical, manifested level. We're here to feel it, not to think about it, talk about it, or transcend it, but to feel it. This whole movement is played out in our feet. It's played out in our hearts, not in our minds. Our ideas are absolutely directing the growth. We will progress along a certain line based upon our ideas and based upon our decisions. As we allow for our ideas and our decisions to connect to that greater underlying reality, to that greater truth, to that higher truth, we then become direct expressions of it, and we start to walk in those shoes. We start to live out those stories, and we start to witness ourselves in a whole new light, because now that truth is permitted to express itself through each and every one of us in the way it always meant to do, in the way it was always meant to do.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things we can expect from the month of December. I do not personally expect the month of December to be grueling. I do not even believe that the month of November necessarily needed to be grueling. However, the fact that it was, the way that it played out for us personally, obviously only contributes to our good. Whether it could have gone differently is utterly irrelevant now that it's behind us. What we know is what happened, what we saw, and everything we get to see and be now as a result of it. So however this month goes, we get to celebrate it. However last month went, we get to celebrate it, because we get to recognize the value inherent to every single step along the way. We get to give ourselves the grace of knowing that no matter what, each of us is always doing our very best and meeting the moment to the highest of our capacity. And we get to expect and assume that that capacity, as a result of all this circumstance, as a result of all this living and experience and practice and learning and growth, only ever continues to grow. Our capacity grows. There's more of us available to meet December than there was available to meet November. And that's because of November.
Right.
And I'm excited to see what this month brings. I do believe that this month will be about choosing to walk the pathways of enjoyment and enrichment. It will be about choosing to merge with the ideas and the decisions that we made in November. We were shown many very significant things in November that will change our life, that will transform our experience of life, so long as we allow them to become a part of us. So whatever happened on a mental level in November now comes into the body of our experience in December. This stuff has to integrate, and it will. It's meant to. It will integrate through our decisions, through our continual returning to those revelations, through good rest, through being easy on ourselves, through giving of grace.
Yes.
Right? And that which is most natural within that context will begin to reveal itself on the subject of body, on the subject of money, on the subject of every last dimension and aspect of our experience. So we're looking forward to this month. I mean, this first day of the month, I woke up feeling kind of tired by the month of November. But I can't help but also feel very excited about what's coming next.
Me too. Yeah.
Is there anything you would wish to add?
I think we've covered it.
I think it's interesting to note that the 56, this frequency of 56, numerologically reduces to an 11.
Yeah, I noticed
So that
that.
angel of light, that prime instinct to polarize, it's still here.
Still here.
It's not going anywhere. It will not.
Right.
We are called to do one thing very, very well, to permit our own enjoyment. If we can do that, all the rest happens. That's just giving me the chills even as I'm speaking it. We are so fortunate to have such a very crystal clear, such a very pinpoint item, like to-do item.
Yeah.
This is the one thing. What is your purpose? This. If you can do this, all the rest grows out of it, like that 1,000-petaled lotus we talked about in the day signature a while ago. All the rest happens, but it happens through us. So our only true responsibility is not to earn, not to make money, not to become more pretty. Our only true responsibility is to offer our hearts, our souls, our time, our attention, our energy, our lives, our devotion to this simple act of permitting the enjoyment of this miracle of life we each have been given. That's all. Recognize it as the gift, permit yourself to receive it, and enjoy it thoroughly. It's the only way you will honor the gift. That's what we're called to do. It's not so shabby in terms of a calling. I think we could probably pull this off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we can. I know we will. I know we will. And I know you will. And we're going to learn a lot of things along the way. We may, in fact, learn a lot of things that have stood in the way of that. Fine, so be it. In fact, bring it on, because we want to release those things. We wish to become lighter, and we wish to tell the truth. And so here we are at day one of a truly exciting new month. It's a new moon.
Yes.
We didn't even talk about that.
I know.
There's a lot, but it's all happening, and it starts right now. We're thrilled to be here. We're thrilled that you are here with us. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
We don't know when we'll be back for our next video. We're still sensing into that and what is the appropriate next step, the obvious next step.
We have so many things we want to do.
And they're all top priority. They're all so exciting to us. But one thing is for sure, we will be back in video form in one way or another. And in the meantime, be with this, marinate in this, read the 56th angel, the session with the 56th angel, read the session with the 11th angel, be in this energy, return to it often, allow it to become a part of you, not just now while you're watching this video, but every now following. You deserve that, not because we're so special and important that our words need to stick with you. Forget about us. Take the words into yourself as your own and let them live out in your life. And that's what all we're going to be doing too. So we all get to do this together.
Yep.
All right. Let's go. You know?
Okay. Sounds good.
Wonderful. Thank you again, and we'll see you very soon.
Okay.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.